Big Mama story time. Story time. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my page. Thank you all for tuning in today. Hi guys, thank you for tuning in to Big Mama story time on today. Today I will be reading Mickey, Scrooge, and the Golden Eggs. But before I get into the book, I would just like to add, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Alright, let's get into this book. Mickey, Scrooge, and the Golden Eggs. I used to love Scrooge, so yeah. This would be interesting. Let's get into it. One bright spring day, Donald brought a goose for Grandma Duck. It was a very beautiful goose. As Donald was walking to Grandma's farm with the goose, he didn't notice his nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie. They were playing ball out beside the road. "Look," said Huey, "Uncle Donald is carrying a goose." "It looks like the goose in our book about Jack and the Beanstalk," said Dewey. "Yes," agreed Louie. "Do you think it lays golden eggs like the one in the book?" he wondered. "Probably," said Dewey. "It looks just like that goose." The boys were so interested in the goose that they didn't hear Scrooge McDuck come up behind them. Scrooge listened to them talking about the special goose and the golden eggs. What if it is true? Scrooge asked himself. If that goose does lay golden eggs, I must have it. Scrooge caught up to Donald. "Good morning, Donald," he said in a friendly voice. "Good morning, Uncle Scrooge," Donald replied. "My, that's a beautiful goose you have there," said Scrooge. "Why, thank you," said Donald. "It is a lovely bird." He's so money hungry. "I'd like to buy that goose from you," said Scrooge. "Sorry, Uncle Scrooge," Donald replied. "I'm giving it to Grandma." "Here now, Donald," said Scrooge. "I'll pay you twice what you paid for it. You can buy Grandma another goose." "You want to give me twice what I paid?" asked Donald. He was puzzled. Why would Uncle Scrooge pay him more than the goose was worth? Then he thought to himself, well, it's Uncle Scrooge's money, after all. He must know what he is doing. And if I sell him this goose, I can buy two just like it for Grandma. So Donald agreed to sell the goose. Uncle Scrooge set off for home. Now he had the special goose. Surely soon he would have golden eggs too. "He, Scrooge laughed to himself. "When this goose lays its golden eggs, I, the richest duck in the world, will be even richer." Okay, let's see. When Scrooge got back to his mansion, he gave the cook and the butler the day off. Then he pulled down all the windows, shades, and locked all the doors. "I wouldn't want anyone else to find out about my goose," he said to himself. Scrooge set the goose on the floor. Then he waited for the golden eggs. Nothing happened. "Well," Scrooge said to the goose, "when are you going to start laying some eggs? And I mean some golden eggs." The goose looked at Scrooge with its bright brown eyes. It gave a soft honk. Still nothing happened. No eggs appeared. Scrooge began to get upset. How do I get this goose to lay eggs? He wondered. He thought and thought. Then he said, I have it. I'll call Grandma Duck. She has a form. She must know how to make a goose lay eggs. So Scrooge called Grandma without even saying hello. He asked, how can I get a goose to lay eggs? Why do you want to know about geese, Scrooge? Grandma asked. Please, Grandma, just tell me how. He said, well, said Grandma, you have to make sure the goose is not too cold, not too hot, not too hungry, and it needs lots of exercise. Scrooge wrote down what Grandma told him and quickly said goodbye. Just then, Grandma heard a knock at her door. It was Donald. He had brought her two beautiful white geese. Why, thank you, Donald, said Grandma. Isn't this strange? I was just talking to Scrooge about geese. I guess that's because I just sold him one, said Donald. He paid me twice what it was worth. Goodness, said Grandma. It isn't like Scrooge to pay more than a goose is worth. I wonder why he wanted a goose so badly. I don't know, said Donald. Maybe he wanted some goose eggs for breakfast. Meanwhile, Scrooge was trying to get the golden goose to lay golden eggs. Looking at his notes, he read, not too cold. Perhaps it is a little cool in here. So Scrooge set the goose in his favorite chair. He lit a fire in the fireplace and pulled the chair close to the fire. Next, he covered the goose with a nice soft blanket. Then he sat back to wait for the golden eggs. The goose began to get warm. It held its wings away from his body. Its feathers started to droop. The goose looked for Scrooge, but it laid not one egg. Scrooge was pretty warm himself. He looked at his notes again. He read, not too hot. Oops. Quickly, Scrooge pulled the blanket off the poor goose. Then he put out the fire and moved the chair away from the fireplace. Okay. Scrooge ran to the kitchen. He returned with a bag full of ice and he placed it on the goose's head. Then he turned on a fan and pointed it right at the goose. There, he said, you should be cooler soon. In no time at all, the goose cooled off. Then it began to shiver. It fluffed up its feathers. The goose held its wings close to its sides. Its beak began to turn blue. But it laid not one egg. Now it's too cold. You're going to get the goose sick. At the time, Scrooge had pulled a blanket over his shoulders to keep himself warm. Again, he read over Grandma's notes. Not too hungry. He read, that must be it. Scrooge turned off the fan. He took the ice bag from the goose's head. Then he hurried to the kitchen to make some nice hot soup. Here you are, Goose, he said, setting the soup bowl in front of the goose. The goose stared at Scrooge with its bright brown eyes, but it did not eat, and it laid not one egg. That's not it then. Let's see. What do I have to do to make you lay eggs? Scrooge cried. I want some of them golden eggs. The goose just stared back at Scrooge. What else did Grandma say to do? Scrooge wondered. Needs exercise. That's it. The next thing the poor goose knew, it was running around outside. Scrooge was running after it. Scrooge chased the goose, he said. If it's exercise you need, then it's exercise you'll get. Okay. Finally, Scrooge had to rest. So the goose gladly settled down to rest too. But the goose laid not one single egg. None of Grandma's ideas had worked. Scrooge couldn't think of anything else to do. How was he to get the golden eggs out of this goose? Then Scrooge remembered his nephews talking about a book. Jack and the Beanstalk. Maybe the secret of the golden eggs was in that book. Quickly, Scrooge went to his bookshelf and took down the book. He opened it to the picture of the goose. Sure enough, this goose was laying golden eggs. Scrooge ran out to the backyard with the book. He pushed the picture of the goose laying a golden egg under his own goose's beak. "See this?" he shouted. "This is what you're supposed to do." The goose looked at the book. Then it looked up at Scrooge. The goose blinked his eyes, but it laid not one egg. Scrooge looked at the book again. Maybe if he acted a little more like a giant, his goose would act a little more like a goose that could lay golden eggs. So Scrooge stood up as tall as he could. He read the giant's words from the book. "Lay, goose, lay." He used his loudest voice. The goose began to look very unhappy. It ruffled its feathers. The goose wasn't used to people yelling at it in loud voices. It stared straight at Scrooge. Then it gave a loud honk, but it laid not one egg. Scrooge could stand it no longer. "Lay, goose, lay," he shouted, jumping up and down, waving his arms. The goose gave another loud frightened honk. It flopped its great wings. It took off into the sky, and not one egg had it laid. Just then, Donald came by. "Uncle Scrooge," he called, "how are you getting along with your new goose?" "The silly goose flew away," moaned Scrooge, "and it didn't lay one golden egg." "Golden egg?" repeated Donald. "Real geese don't lay golden eggs. That only happens in fairy tales." Suddenly Scrooge understood how silly he had been, but he didn't want his nephew to know too. "Good old egg, I said," Scrooge shouted. "It didn't lay one good old egg." "Well," said Donald, as he watched the goose disappear in the sky, "I'm sorry you lost your goose, Uncle Scrooge. I'll be glad to get you another one if you'll give me twice what I pay for it again." This was more than Scrooge McDuck could stand. He went back inside his mansion and slammed the door. "If I hadn't been so greedy," he thought sadly, "I wouldn't have lost my money or my goose." He began to feel better when he got to his money room. It was the one place that could always make him feel better. "I may be poorer than I was before," he told himself, "but I'm still the richest duck in the world." All right. That was Mickey, Scrooge, and the Golden Eggs. Thank you all for tuning in to Big Mama Storytime. Thank you all for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Please hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell just so you can get updates whenever I post new videos. All right, guys. Bye. Big Mama Storytime. Storytime.